guys, I'm back and setting up my April journal pages, and this month I redesigned the cover of The Little Prince. I was actually able to print out this cover on my wide format printer because the edition of the book I have is more of a pocket-sized edition, so I was able to physically print the book jacket out so you guys could see the whole thing. And I rewatched the 2015 movie recently and just remembered how much I loved this story. I used a lot of that movie as inspiration to make this cover because the animation was so good and they have such amazing shape language in that movie, and the stop motion animation is so stunning. So I used a lot of those shapes here for the Little Prince, the aviator, and the fox in the back because I kind of wanted to pay homage to the movie. And I also wanted this image to look like layers of cutout paper on top of each other, so they all cast a pretty deep shadow to give that kind of 3D layered effect. And I really love how this cover turned out, and I'm so glad I get to share it with you guys. Now onto the actual bullet journal. I filled in my mood grid off camera because I wasn't sure if you guys wanted to see that all over again. And I'm also using this really simple cursive to try and mimic the type that was on the original book cover. I don't know how successful I was just because my cursive tends to be naturally a little slanted and the cursive on the cover isn't. But I really do like how it looks, and I also put some of my titles in French since the book itself is French. But I'm definitely not a native French speaker, so if it's wrong, it's Google Translate's fault. But I just thought that was something fun to add, and I do like how it looks, so let me know in the comments if you agree with me. Now moving on to the expense page, I printed out these color blocks to match the layers on the cover itself, but when I tried to put this drop shadow on each box, I don't know, it just kind of got like really messy because I wasn't able to line up the grid 100% on the computer versus the paper, and that whole thing just kind of threw me off. But you live and you learn, and I'm not upset about it. I don't know. As for the expenses page itself, I have 4 categories, and one of them is for incomes to show how much is coming in, and then another space for all of my monthly bills, another tab for this month just for expenses on the craft fair that I have coming up in April, and a third for personal expenses like going out to eat with my friends or going to a movie. This really helps me keep on budget and keep track of my finances. So if you guys need a way to do that, I would suggest keeping a finance page in your bullet journal because it helps me immensely. And then instead of using a Starry Night washi tape like I used last month, because that book was also kind of space themed, I'm using this washi tape with gold roses instead because that's kind of who he's trying to get back to, is his rose the whole book, and I thought that fit. Then I'm going to make my memories spread and my fitness tracker. I'm doing these titles again in French, and I have messed up a bit on my fitness tracker, but I just glued in a piece of paper to cover the bottom row, which I did the wrong color, and I don't really even notice that the Monday column is 1 square wider, so I'm not gonna stress out over it because it really, you can barely even tell, and I gotta pick and choose my battles, kind of. Now my work weeks are 4 days at my main part-time job and 3 days away from that where I do kind of my other part-time job, which is a lot more irregular. So that's why my weeklies are structured in such a weird way, but I keep these micro calendars on the top of each spread so that I don't lose track of where I am in each month. And for the decorations, I did try and mimic the art in the book, which isn't the most refined because Anthony wasn't an artist, but it was actually really difficult because I had to make myself draw something in this very unrefined style. And at first I wasn't sure if I liked it, but after a day when I looked back through it, I liked it more than I had when I finished it. But each week is a different character that the little prince kind of runs into on his journey, and I picked the king, the businessman, the show-off, and then the lantern lighter, just because I didn't want to do the alcoholic, because I was like, I don't want to invite those kind of vibes in my life right now. And while you're watching me fill in these weeklies, I have a fun fact about this book that I think you guys would find very interesting. And The Little Prince is actually the second most translated book in the world. Of course, the first one is the Bible, but The Little Prince has actually been translated into over 375 languages. I think that this is so amazing, and it really just hits home how impactful and well-loved this book is. And you can definitely power through this book in like an hour, but it took me 3 days to read because I just had to keep putting it down and digesting it, because there are some things in there where you read it and you're like, this is absolutely ridiculous, and then you think about it and you're like, wow, that is kind of very profound, because you're tackling these very large problems in this childlike way, and when you take the problems out of their normal everyday context, you realize how kind of absurd they are. And I just love that about this book. And if you agree with me or if you've read the book, definitely leave that in the comments. And if you have any book recommendations, you can leave those comments as well. I'm getting into audiobooks as of late because I have a very long commute to work on the days I do work. So I've been powering through quite a few audiobooks. And I am still working on stuff for this craft fair I'm going to be attending. And if you guys are interested in where that's going to be, I'll leave a link to it down in the description. And thank you guys so much for watching. Here's the flip through for this. I definitely tried to stay true to the children's illustration vibes of the book, so let me know if I've succeeded or not. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that thumbs up. If you're interested in more book themed journal spreads, hit the subscribe button, because that is the overarching theme for this year's bullet journal, is just book cover redesigns. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys stay creative.